The New Year's Tempest Trials will be out with the banner, but since we got the data mine early, we're also going to cover it beforehand. We got some nice rewards, including 42 orbs to add to your stashes, and the usual 11,000 feathers with 80 sacred coins. Not 100% sure, but I believe we're going to get another set of Ephemeral 12 divine codes, since that's what happened last year. We're also going to get a light blessing to match with Mythic Ash. For our sacred seals, we have attack opening, and finally the fan favorite Fury. For a reward unit to kick off the new year, it's going to be New Year's Kyza. You can get a 4-star and 5-star copy, and we'll talk about them more later on. For Sacred Seals, let's go over them briefly. Attack Opening 3 grants a +6 attack field buff to the highest attack ally every single turn. This excludes the user. Opening buffs are an easy way to guarantee certain units get buffed up, and attack opening is excellent for pretty much any situation. They're not super overbearing, but they are reliable since they work every turn, and you can designate who gets the buff when you're team building. For this month's Ephemeral Combat Manuals, we have Winter Erica, who has inheritable staff that buffs the highest attack allies with +5 defense and res. You can pair this with attack opening to triple buff one unit, but Erica also just has attack opening as her C skill, and it's possible to get it with her staff. Still, if you have another C skill in mind, then the attack opening Sacred Seal may be useful for that. As with any of these types of buffs, if you can put together a team with multiple highest attack units, then attack opening will buff all of them. Can be a fun strategy if you can work out the math. Upgrade this seal if you want, but it's not the most important one if you have some other focuses. Next, we're finally getting a Sacred Seal for Fury 3. Grants a flat +3 to all stats, but after combat your unit takes 6 recoil damage. Fury 3 is a classic A skill in Fae and is generally one of the most used A skills for budget builds, mainly because it's spawned in a couple units since the launch of the game. Fury also has some very nice uses for both for its flat all-around stat boost and the recoil damage. The most common build is Fury plus Desperation and maybe a Brazen Sacred Seal. Fury can let squishy units get into Desperation's HP threshold safely if they can avoid getting hit, and it can also just keep a unit alive since you do get +3 defense and res. As a Sacred Seal, you can swap the Fury and Brazen combo around, but generally Fury in the A slot is better since it's always doing something in case you need to swap Sacred Seals around. With the Fury Seal, you can now let any unit double stack Fury skills, and for some units like Eldigan or Hinata with Fury 3 weapons, they can triple stack its stats and recoil damage. For obvious reasons, the triple Fury skills are kind of a meme, but at the same time, it is a lot of stats, and if your unit stays alive with one round of combat, then who's to say it's not worthwhile. Additionally, you can use multiple Fury skills to just drop into lower HP thresholds faster, and this can be useful for letting allies proc Wings of Mercy. If you got a Guild Force unit who fights twice with double Fury, they'll absolutely fall under half HP, and that can chain into other units being able to fly in afterwards. While Fury 3 isn't the biggest stat boost for any one stat, it is a fine skill for a lot of situations, and I do think it's a Sacred Seal you'll snap on just about any unit, especially if you're going to go for a PvP defense team.
Happy New Year. May we both succeed in all our endeavors. It's cute that you think you have a chance, liar, but I'm not letting you have Captain Runoff this year either.
Our first heroic rail unit for 2022 will be Kyza. They are a Laguz from Radiant Dawn, and they're a Tiger Laguz, which is probably intended to coincide with the Year of the Tiger for 2022. Kyza is also Lyre's superior officer, and both of them are under Ranulf, which the two try to fight over for his attention. To be fair, who doesn't like Ranulf? Now, as a unit, New Year's Kyza is a red beast infantry unit, and they have 45 HP, 39 attack, 26 speed, 41 defense, and 30 res. They have speed and defense super boons. Kyza's stats are similar to a few other infantry beast units, but they have a few extra benefits thanks to recent changes in Update 6.0. These changes come from Kyza's weapon, the Polished Fang. This is a 14-weight weapon that grants a flat +3 defense, and at the start of combat, if the foe has more than 75% HP, Kyza gets +6 attack and defense during combat, and if they have higher defense than the foe, they gain special cooldown charge +1 when the foe attacks them, and they deal 5 true damage on their own attacks. This will include AoE specials. So, Kyza's weapon is similar to Lyre's. Instead of a speed check, Kyza has to win a defense check, and instead of flashing blade, Kyza has to get hit to gain extra special cooldown. This is similar to Owain's Mistletoe or weapons like the Huge Fan. Just looking at this part of the weapon, Kyza will already have 50 defense and gets a decent amount of extra damage. Their base attack is pretty good to start with. Now, the real game changer for Kyza from other similar beast infantry is that they got the same buffs as Nyla and Ashe. In update 6.0, the infantry beast units got a change to their beast transformation bonus. They still gain the extra +2 attack, but now deal +7 damage on special trigger, and gain no guard and no special charge. Both of those effects are great for a unit like Kyza who has built an extra special cooldown. They can get +2 cooldown even against guard effects on the foe, and they can disable skills like flashing or heavy blade. Combined, both of these abilities also just hard counter special fighter. Now, the catch is that Kyza must be transformed. This means they have to be solo or they have to be next to a dragon or beast ally. Like with Ashe, the issue is that you can't just use Kyza on any team comp, otherwise you're going to need to accommodate their solo condition. While this may not always be an issue, it's still something to think about. That being said, Kyza won't be completely dependent on this transformation bonus to function. It is required for them to fight at full strength though. Now, for Kyza's base kit, they got some actually decent skills. Moonbow is used because it's a 2 cooldown special, so Kyza can tank a hit to charge it instantly. They will come at close defense 3 for extra defensive power, and then attack and defense 03 for self-buffing. This is only the second time attack and defense oath is in the game, and the other unit it's on is Altina. It's a very nice fodder skill if you don't plan to use Kyza at all. For obvious reasons, 2 defense stacking skills is pretty solid for Polished Fang, and Kyza has some okay resistance as well. The main issue is that they have that very awkward mid-20 speed stat, which can end up being kinda useless unless you invest in it. It's pretty clear that Kyza will fall into that quicker post enemy phase category. In terms of merging, they're going to get that +1 HP attack and defense with the neutral nature. That's fine, but obviously with a weapon that does a defense check, you're probably going to want to give Kyza their defense super boon. Their speed super boon can also be interesting, but having more speed might be awkward, and I'll discuss why later on. In terms of uniqueness, there aren't that many beast units to begin with, but we only have one other red beast infantry unit, and that's going to be regular Keaton. For what it's worth, Kyza is pretty special due to a lack of competition, and Keaton is a 4-star special rate unit now. While not the same color, Kyza is actually very similar to last year's Tempest unit, New Year's Keaton. That Keaton not only has similar stats, but he also has a defense comparing weapon. However, New Year's Keaton does not get the new buffs that Kyza has, and it's going to be quite a while before he gets refined. No guard and no special charge are not exactly widely available as skills, so Kyza should be happy with both of those. I say this, but ironically our most recent legendary hero, Female Byleth, can give both of those effects to every unit, so go figure. Additionally, every player can get Ashe, who does have similar abilities, and funny enough, Ashe is not that different from Kyza. They have similar stats, but Ashe gets built-in follow-up attacks, and she has fall prevention, where Kyza has built-in special cooldown. However, Ashe can also just run Steady Breath as a Sacred Seal, and to be honest, Steady Breath offers better cooldown reduction. Ashe also accelerates specials, so she's able to run certain specials better. This is kind of an issue Kyza just has to deal with. Before we move on, I just want to point out that if you want, you can now make a whole 4-man team of tanky beast infantry units with every color. You already got 3 from free-to-play sources, and Mordecai is a demoted unit. Mordecai and Keaton are also possibly up for refine soon in the next year, considering Nyla just got hers. Consider Keaton getting no guard and being able to combo it with his dual phase brave weapon and the DC plus Vantage plus Steady Breath build. I do wonder what he'll get with his refine. Now back to Kyza, let's talk builds. For the most part, you don't have to change anything from their base kit. Simply add quicker pose as a beast skill or sacred seal and just stack more defense. While attack and defense oath is a great self buff for Kyza, it does require adjacent allies, and if you want Kyza to transform, those allies would need to be beast or dragon units. Again, this can limit you on team building freedom. If you want Kyza to transform via being solo, then Rouse attack and defense can be used instead. You can also borrow Mordecai's attack and defense link, but you'll need a movement assist skill to proc it, and obviously you don't want to be overlapping any of these. Generally speaking, Kyza should be able to tank a hit, then fire back with Moonbow. If they are transformed, no guard ensures this always happens unless the enemy has no special charge, like Female Byleth. If you want, you can stack double close defense, but you get no extra damage. Maybe if you want Kyza to fight dragons, this is fine, but they're gonna get doubled often, and close defense does nothing against mages. If you would like to invest in Kyza, then you can kind of follow Ash's skill options. Sturdy stance 3, attack and defense unity, low attack and defense, and quick riposte as always. Unfortunately, while I think having built-in cooldown reduction is great, it's not steady breath, and units like Ash can use steady breath as a secret seal. Kyza also doesn't accelerate specials, so they can't insta-proc bonfire counterattacks like Ash can. Now you can get around it with Time's Pulse, but it only gives you a 2 cooldown bonfire once per player phase, and you won't be able to use something like Joint Drive defense. Personally, while I think instant bonfires are nasty, Kyza may be better off just waiting for their next attack. You could use Heavy Blade, but Kyza won't be doubling without Quick Riposte, and that takes up a slot somewhere. Admittedly, I am curious if you could run Kyza with Heavy Blade 4. They may need some help with the attack check, but you could maybe pair it with Attack and Defense Menace, and maybe even throw in Wrath 3. You could potentially stack all of these true damage effects for one big special proc like a Bonfire Ignis. Don't think this would work in practice though. Now, something basic that could work out for Kyza is running an AoE special. If Kyza can survive an engagement, they may be able to charge up a Blazing Wind. Blazing Wind would get plus 12 damage from Polished Fang when transformed, and it could give Kyza a player phase nuke if you're worried about not getting off a Bonfire Ignis or Aether in one round. Last, let's talk about investing in extra speed. We've seen units with 25-ish speed use speed builds, and they can be annoying if you're not able to handle them. Kyza has that speed super boon, but if they want their extra cooldown, they have to get hit. And if you invest in speed, that means you may get hit less. Generally, that's a good thing, and Kyza may get some doubles themselves. However, Polished Fang's cooldown doesn't work on their own attacks, and obviously you still need to invest in defense to actually activate Polished Fang. Kyza could run things like no follow-up or steady posture, but unfortunately their kit isn't as complete as a unit like Ash. You will have to make sacrifices somewhere. If you go all in on defense, then a good mage will just wreck them. If you add more speed or res, you risk not proccing Polished Fang. There's also the whole issue with awkward special timings and needing quicker post if you want to actually KO stuff in one round. Overall, this is still a decent Tempest Trials to kick off the new year. Both secret seals are quite nice, and New Year's Kyza isn't a surprise since they get the new buffs for Infantry Beast units. They may be a bit similar to New Year's Kyza from last year, but they're a different color, and again Kyza has the new transformation bonuses. I think they're a fine unit, but as with any beast unit, if you wanted them to transform, you either have to field some dragons and beasts on your teams, or Kyza has to go alone solo. Another thing are the small issues we just discussed with builds. If you aren't going to invest heavily, then you could just use Ash with Steady Breath for a similar experience. It may be the Year of the Tiger, but Asker's got a very scary laser shooting cow already. Like with the banner, the Tempest Trials will be out in a couple days. Have fun celebrating the new year and go get all the rewards available. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.